Hello developers, and welcome to your second PHP tutorial. Today we're going to learn how to check if the user exists in the database. If he does exist, then we're going to redirect him to his profile page, and if he doesn't, then we're going to show an error message. And for that I'm going to use two PHP files. This is the same PHP file that I used in the other tutorial, home.php. And this is another PHP file that I created just today, but we will start with this one. So if you have seen the first part already, you'll notice that there is this little piece of code that I did not discuss the other day that I'm going to explain today. So here I'm checking if the form has been submitted and there are no errors, which means that the user has provided a username and a password that have the correct length. Then I'm going to start a session. And what a session is, it's a way to store PHP variables so that I can use them in this page. You can always use post as well, but session is a different method, so you can use which one is convenient for you. So I start a session here, and then I'm going to store into these two session variables. I'm going to store the username and the password. So this is the username that the user has provided for us, the post of username that you can see over here. This is post of username, and post of password, this is it. So I'm going to store these two session variables, and I'm going to header to check login.php. This is check login.php. This is HTML. We're not going to go through that. It's easy to understand. As you can see here, I started with session star, so I can really get those session variables, and you have to use that in both files. As you can see here, I used it in home.php, and I used it in checklogin.php, so I can get those session variables, or else you're gonna get an error and you cannot get those session variables. So I declare two variables, first name and password, and got the stored PHP variables from the previous page. The next step is to connect to the database, and for that I specified these variables: the localhost, the host, mine is localhost, the username, the password, the database name, and the table name that I'm using. The next step is to connect to the database using these variables. So if the connection is not okay, then I'm going to display an error message, but this rarely comes up. But if everything's okay and the connection with the database is established, then I'm going to request the database for the first name and the ID. And for that I declared this query saying select first name ID from users, where username equals to first name and password. And these are the two variables that I just got from the session variables. The next step is to execute the query, and then I'm going to get the number of rows that verify this condition. NumRows is a function that's going to return the number of records that really has this condition. So basically here I'm asking the database for the user who has this first name and this password. So if counts equals 1, and counts is going to get the result of the function numRows, so if it equals 1, so there is one user with that first name and password, then I'm going to declare another variable exists equal true. So now we're sure that the user exists in the database. But if he doesn't, I'm going to show an error message saying that you have a wrong username or password. The next step is, now we're sure that the user exists in the database, so we're going to redirect him to his profile page. So if exists equals true, then I request the database for the ID for that user, because I want to header him to his specific profile page. I don't want to header him to a different user's profile page, so it has to be his ID. So I'm asking the database for the ID of that user, where username equals username and password equals password. And then here I'm going to header the user to his profile page. And that's it. And then here this HTML, this is the same thing that exists in the home.php, but you know, it's a different PHP file. But this is what it would look like, and that's it. If you want to check the code for this PHP tutorial, you can visit this website. It's an awesome website. It explains everything, goes through every detail from creating the database to creating every single file, even logout.php, which you know, we didn't go through today, but we'll go through another day. But here the only problem is that it's using MySQL, you know, pure MySQL, like here MySQL select DB, but you want to use MySQL improved because it's more secure, and I don't think that MySQL works anymore. I don't know. Either way, well, the next tutorial we'll see how to create a profile page, and for that the user has to sign up first. So we'll cover all that in the next tutorial. Bye.